So then maybe just real quick, we have right now as users these kind of main mechanisms to access information that is launched on networks. So the most obvious ones are the Chromes, Edge, and Firefox of the world, and to some extent, some of these are now starting or have been integrating some privacy and data protection solutions. So where there's like end-to-end encryption and so forth, but largely that's then again basically evaded by having a lot of things like cookies and otherwise data that are being inserted by websites that are still interested in just keeping records of who is visiting them for what purpose and want to follow them around and whatnot. So the future, if we get this right, will be purely Web3 browsers. And so right now, this is rather cumbersome. You have to install something like a MetaMask and then connect to a site that is running using a decentralized software solution that most people will still call blockchain. And that will allow you to actually use these particular applications. The difference being is at that point in time, I can store all of my PII in this particular browser, and I only pass on, if any information, I only pass on the information that I need to run this dApp, this decentralized application, in a very nuanced way. And ideally, the dApp will also just ask for very discretionary information that they actually need in order to provide you with a service or solution. So I think this is probably, that's my second to last slide. So this is the big picture, in my opinion, that is important to understand. So if you're looking at current network topology, which let's call it the internet. So the internet looks at human beings not very different than it would look at a weather station. So it will observe the data that's being created by the weather station or by that human, then it will make some copies, distribute these copies, then it will refactor it, and then make this data available to typically either the platform provider, i.e. Google, Facebook, or the clients of these platform providers. And then these platforms will either offer something like a social engineering as a service solution that then influences your behavior. So the larger point there being is, so the current network topology doesn't actually consider your humanness. So it treats you like an oracle function from a technical perspective, right? And so for us and for this technology to serve us, we need to reverse this particular paradigm. We're reassigning agency to the endpoints of the individuals here. So the reason why I use these particular labels, and there's a lot more layers, I'm just using the high level ones. I'm working on a very detailed taxonomy that people will be able to download directly from GitHub. But so the individual, so you, the human, or could be an entity, but typically we're talking about humans, might have a bunch of personas. So personas is something that I want to represent online. So you have a persona that is, let's call it your LinkedIn profile, and profile again is kind of a conflation of terms here. So whatever data that you control on the platform of LinkedIn is what your persona is, right? And whatever data is under your control on Facebook, that's your persona. And then yeah, on top of that, and this is now data that you don't control, additional data, there's profile data, and profile data is called such because it's used for profiling. So if I'm LinkedIn, if I'm Google, if I'm Facebook, I attach other data to the data that I control, to whatever my behavior and the connections that I have, and I don't have access to that. I can't remove that. I can't ask them to change that. That's just something that they do on their end. And then overall, they might actually then enhance that with a lot of other data sources to make this profile even more useful for the actual client. So yeah, I have been writing about these concepts since 2008. The title of that book is it's still work in progress. It's no longer that grandiose. I'm no longer claiming that the world could be saved. So right now, I'm calling the working draft the reversal of the attention economy. And there's a couple of articles that speak specifically to some of the things that I've been alluding to. One was published in Forbes some time ago on the concept of digital vending machines and the question of identity specifically. And then there's some longer, somewhat more nerdy ones speaking to topology on Hacker Noon that should be fairly easy to find if you just Google my name.